That might be
Those
the
were
most.
those were words that just came out of my mouth, talking
Yeah.
about what a candidate for president of the United States was talking about at a rally. Hello, I'm Colin, and welcome back to the C&C Talks podcast, episode 27 of season 3. And just a reminder before we get into everything, episodes coming out every week, discuss politics, world events, sports. We're taping this on Monday, October 21st, 2024, at about 9 p.m. Pacific time. As of this taping, just 15 days away from election day. Every single vote matters in this election, so make sure that you have a plan to vote if you're eligible to vote. We here at C&C Talks are not quite eligible to vote yet, but we hope that everybody that is eligible to vote it can cast their ballot. If you need more information, please go to iwillvote.com. It'll give you for whatever state you're in. It'll give you information on how to register to vote, what the voting laws are in your area, help you make a plan to go and cast your ballot. It is critically important that everybody participates in this election. So please, please go and cast your ballot. Now, no, we're only 15 days away from election day, but due to circumstances beyond our control, Charlie's unavailable to be here again this week. Joined again by a member of our production staff, Zack. Zack, you seem to have been here a lot over the last few months, but welcome back to the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and fill in for Charlie when he's not able to.
Yep, all right. Let's get straight into politics this week. As you can imagine, most of this is going to be election related. Not all of it, but most of it is. We're going to start right off the bat with some of the comments that Donald Trump has made over the last couple of weeks since we last recorded. We'll tell you in a minute why we find his concerning and his comments concerning and possibly signs of serious mental decline. But I want to start with comments of his that feel much more high stakes first. Donald Trump in the last couple of weeks has multiple times made comments about how the biggest enemy um, the United States fights. It's not Russia or China or Iran or North Korea or whatever. It's the enemy from within. And what he means by that, and he said this, is people on the left. He calls them the enemy from within, his political opponents. And he has said that he would deal with them by using the military. So using the military against American citizens. And before you say this is just him being him and talking up, him using this rhetoric, first of all, okay, well, if that's just what he does, I find that very concerning. I don't think that we should have a president that engages in that rhetoric. But most of this is stuff that Trump seriously considered back in 2020 with the Black Lives Matter protests. He seriously considered having the military go out into American cities, using the military against protesters. So Zack, this Trump saying this again, and especially with the enemy from within comments, feels very problematic.
Yeah, it does. It feels supremely anti-democratic. And overall, like, you might just say, well, the Democrats do this too. They say that the Republicans are, brainwashed and stupid and whatever. But this is different. I've never heard a
Really?
Democrat say that we need to fight these people, that they're, our enemy. I've never heard, I've never heard a Democratic politician say that we need to fight our own citizens
Yeah,
and
exactly.
protect the country from them. It's
And
it's
put the
different.
military on them. Like I think I kind of agree in a way with Trump. I think that the biggest threat to the national security of the United States is coming from within. It's coming from not just Trump himself, but white nationalist groups that support him and that he exonerated, such as his Proud Boy Stand Back and Stand By comment back in 2020. And I mean, Trump also, of course, siding with a lot of our foreign adversaries, Russia, North Korea at times, China at times. So I think there's certainly concerns there, but to talk about using the military against American citizens, just, I mean,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be surprised. This is who Donald Trump is, but it's still something that we have to point out over and over again because it's not normal for somebody to do this, and we can't accept it as normal because then it's just like, okay, fine, not a big deal. And I feel like that's what's happened with most everything that Trump has said and done over the last 8 years.
Yeah, and I also think it's breaking down a very long-held taboo of American politics, which is that at the end of the day, in normally in American politics, at the end of the day, no matter what side you're on, no matter who you support, you're always going to at least say and talk about being, a president or a politician for all of America,
All of
and
them. Exactly.
and
All the people
how
we represent.
goal is to make the lives better, or the security better of the people living in America, all of them, at least who are citizens. That is something that Trump has completely just ignored. This very
Entirely.
core piece, yeah, this very core piece of American politics. He's just completely ignored that we have these guidelines for our politicians that, and they're not even just guidelines. They're just decency, common decency.
You can see the election when you lose. Well, Trump didn't do that. Trump wouldn't even accept the results when he won in 2016.
Yeah,
This is not a guy that cares about America, American democracy, the people of this country, unless they support him. We now know, essentially confirmed on record sources, that when wildfires hit California, Donald Trump didn't want to send aid because California didn't vote for him.
yeah,
Another comment recently from Donald Trump. He said that the United States has a gene problem.
yeah.
Comments, Zach?
Well, this sounds extremely problematic and like eugenics to me.
Yeah, it
For
feels
the
like
view.
maybe he should have just said it in German.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like he's, fit right in. He would fit right in 1936 or so, Nazi Germany. And it's concerning that he has a chance at becoming president, and he's saying things like this, things that are so clearly just Nazi and eugenics and just awful in every way.
Yeah, and I will point out another similarity. Back in the 1930s in Germany, do you know what percent of the population in Germany was Jewish? It was about 1%. And
Yeah,
what did they do? They uh the Nazi Party weaponized hatred and fear of them. They stoked hatred and fear of them, and they used that to their political advantage.
right.
Does that not feel very similar to what Trump and the Republican Party are doing with transgender Americans?
Absolutely. But it's not even just transgender Americans. I mean,
Well,
they're
I feel
doing
like
that.
that's the group that you can draw maybe the closest, like, side by side for in terms of strategy. But think that I think that,
Okay.
yes, the way that they just attack um, minority communities in general is extremely problematic.
And I mean, and of course, this group isn't necessarily U.S. citizens, but immigrants is definitely another place where I see this. In fact, in 2016, some of you might not remember this, but we had effectively concentration camps outside of our airports. Like I feel like that's something that's not really brought back up very much, but that was terrifying.
Yeah. Trump also says that to deal with, I believe, immigrants, is going to invoke an act. I think it's like the Alien Invaders Act or something. I'm not entirely sure what the name of the act is, but
Very
it's something that the last
familiar.
time it was used was to force Japanese
Yeah.
Americans into incarceration camps. It's not great.
Yeah.
Not great at all. Um,
No, I thought we had
moving on
established
to
it.
yeah,
I
moving on
thought I
from the
thought we had
scary part of the Donald Trump speeches and rallies to the scary in a slightly different way, in the way of this guy, I'm just gonna say it, not a doctor, can't diagnose it, but this guy definitely has dementia.
I don't think it really
Um,
takes a doctor to diagnose it based off the things he's currently saying.
what's interesting to me is like he's clearly in the last few years declined mentally, but it's been a lot more rapid in recent weeks. Like it's so obvious. Like
Yeah.
he did an event at like the Economic Club of Chicago last week, and he numerous times he was asked a question, he started talking about something completely different. The interviewer had to remind him what the question was that he was asked. I mean, it
Yeah.
was embarrassing. Right? He calls it the weave, where he goes from one topic to another. That's not what it is, though. It's not intentional that he's doing this. This is just what he does now. Um,
Yeah.
he had an event also last week where it was a town hall style event. He only took a few questions, then a couple people in the crowd passed out, and he decided that they should play Ave Maria because of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
It's
because apparently Trump didn't want to take any more questions, he just decided to have someone in their production center ever play music for 40 straight minutes while Trump just gently swayed along to it. It wasn't even dancing, it
yeah.
wasn't even like his dancing. Like it was
No.
just gentle swaying to the music to a wide variety of songs. YMCA, of course, his favorite.
The one that,
And
got sued for using or something.
yeah, Hallelujah. He got sued for play. Well, sorry, not sued. He got sent a cease and desist letter for playing a recording of a specific artist singing that song. Um,
Yeah.
like wide variety of music. Like, what's he doing? And what are
I
we
don't
doing here as a country? Just being like, oh yeah, no, this is normal. This is normal for a presidential candidate to be doing this. And I haven't even talked about the biggest one, which is a rally on Saturday, I want to say. He decided to make comments about the size of Arnold Palmer's, the late golfer, on Arnold Palmer's penis.
that might be the most
Those were words that just came out of my mouth, talking
yeah.
about what a candidate for president of the United States was talking about at a rally.
Yeah. And
What are we
and
doing
that's
here?
that's definitely one of the crazier things that he's ever said. But
It's one of the
it just
weirdest too. Like, what the hell? And Arnold Palmer didn't even like Donald Trump. His daughter has said as much.
yeah.
Like, what's the deal here? And why the fascination with this?
Yeah. I I'm I honestly think that his rallies now are more just random. I mean, they were already sort of this, but random
Yes.
like conversations with himself, like just random monologues about any random topic that he wants to discuss.
Yeah.
And usually whatever topic that is very deranged.
Yeah. So from Arnold Palmer's penis size to Hannibal Lecter to sharks versus electrocution to windmills
Yeah.
can give you cancer to toilets not flushing. I mean, to be fair, time for them to flush when full of classified documents, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an endless stream of nonsense. Like, try making sense of what he's saying. You can't. I don't think he could make sense of it.
Yeah.
And
And
his
it
crowds
seems
are noticing too, though, right? Because
yeah, they're
I
leaving.
mean, well, they're leaving, and more than just that they're leaving. Like, we've seen Trump rallies now for like 8 years, and this I feel like is the least energetic I've ever seen his crowds.
Well, yeah, because
The energy
he's
is
not
on the
even
Democratic side.
if you ignore what he's saying, like if you just ignore what he's saying, which is hard to do, but if you ignore what he's not even saying it. Like he's so incredibly off topic and off in whatever weird world he's in that it's not even like interesting to watch some of what he does now. Like the swaying. Like
Yeah. And
it
like I'll
just
say, we can
it's
debate
not
whether he ever had charisma in the first place. I would say yes. Doesn't necessarily look like charisma to a lot of people, but I would say he did have charisma. Right now, he definitely doesn't.
no.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and this might just be me and just in my bubble, just not noticing this, but I feel like Democrats have a really effective, well, I don't know if it's effective, but like a very large um, get out the vote campaign going. Like
Yeah.
forgetting TV ads here, just like people on the ground talking to voters on the phones, letter writing, door knocking, all sorts of things. And again, this might just be me, but I don't feel like the Republicans have that. And sure, I feel like Democrats in general are just better at that, but there doesn't feel to me like there's a huge effort on the Republican side to actually get people to vote. Like the closest thing I heard was Trump telling women uh, to get their husbands to vote by saying, "Get that fat pig off the couch and get him to vote."
Yeah. Yeah.
So like maybe that's just me, but that's kind of the feeling I'm getting, and that should be good news for Democrats.
Very good news. And also I think that one of the things that Kamala Harris has been doing at her recent rallies is really great. I mean, of course, probably not helping too much with, I mean, not helping or hurting uh, getting like undecided voters or whatever. But they've been they've been doing this thing at her rallies where they play a montage of the latest
Yes.
thing Trump has said at his rallies, and so that the crowd can just sort of just laugh and be um, very disgusted by what he's saying.
I feel like
And
in
it's
some ways his rallies are more entertaining for liberals to watch now than conservatives. In some ways,
yeah,
like they're horrifying too, and like it's horrifying to think that like he could win the election, but at the same time, it's like if it wasn't real, it would be hilarious.
to think though that he's gotten to the point where even his cult of personality is starting to say,
Yeah.
"Whoa, wait a second. I don't know if I can follow you there, buddy. That's a little bit far fetched
I
and
think it's that. I think they're just like, I don't care.
uninteresting, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
uninterested.
He's
But
uninteresting.
like,
He's become uninteresting.
these are the people that you know would go to the Capitol and storm the Capitol for this guy, storm the capital of their country, be arrested, go to jail for this guy, and yet what he's doing now at his rallies is kind of turning them off.
Yeah. No, the I don't know if he could get that many people to go storm the Capitol again. I don't know. I kind of don't think
No,
he could.
I don't think he could do it. Well, yeah, probably not.
I mean,
Probably
we'll
not.
see. Hopefully, we don't have another January 6th. It won't happen in the same way, that's for sure, because Trump was president at the time. He's not now. He doesn't control
Yeah,
a lot of the things he did control back then. So,
yeah,
but
no, they
we'll see.
never would have gotten this far.
Yeah, exactly. Another Trump thing that he did over the weekend, he went to quote unquote work at McDonald's, and sounds like, oh
Work.
great, yeah, he's serving French fries at McDonald's, just like a McDonald's employee. Okay. So, first of all, the McDonald's was closed. Second of all, they staged the customers that came through. They were just some of his supporters. They literally practiced them driving through the drive-thru. They did a rehearsal. Trump did this because he's still claiming that Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's. We can't confirm that she worked at McDonald's, but we're pretty sure that she worked at McDonald's. Um,
I mean,
Donald Trump, on the other hand, has never done an honest day's work in his life, and Sunday was not one either because he was there for all of like 15 minutes
yeah,
serving French fries, and we're supposed to believe that he's relatable to the American public. Why? For what reason?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then Eric Trump, Trump's son, goes on TV, tries to claim, has the audacity to claim that Harris has never had a real job because she's never signed the front of a paycheck.
yeah,
Are you
yeah,
kidding me?
yeah,
Most Americans have never signed the front of a paycheck.
yeah. And
The
also,
average
it's
American is not in a position to do that. You are not relatable to the average person. I'm
no,
sorry,
no,
you're not.
and
You
it's also
you are the ones that have never had a real job.
yeah. It but it's not even that too. It's also um it's it's a very small subset of jobs that would get you that. If you
Yeah,
don't want to be a business owner, if you don't want to be a CEO, if you don't want to be, a boss of some sort like that, then you're never going to do that. I mean,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean that every other job is, not worthy.
yeah. Moving to the Harris side of things. Harris did an interview on Fox News last week. It was a combative interview, definitely the most combative interview that she's ever done. Brett
Oh, yeah.
Baer played some false or misrepresented
Yeah, no,
comments in some clips. Kept talking over her. She's also though possibly going on Joe Rogan. Zach, what's your thoughts on
yeah.
this strategy from the Kamala Harris campaign?
I mean, I think it's a sound strategy. I Is it necessary? Maybe not. Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I think that the demographic that watches Joe Rogan probably is sort of within that sort of average demographic watching Joe Rogan is probably within the slightly right leaning, but
Yeah,
probably both parties, and maybe could be convinced, you know, to vote for Kamala Harris. Um, I don't know though. I mean, I think that really Kamala's strategy, the Harris Walz campaign as a whole strategy right now is just to reach out as much as possible and just sort of, um, get a hand in every demographic that may have a small chance of flipping. And it's not a bad strategy. I think it's a good strategy. So I think as for the interview itself, it's going to be quite interesting because as somebody who's watched some of Joe Rogan's stuff, he's he's not he's not super knowledgeable about politics, and
also, it's
I
weird that is he capable of giving a tough interview? I
I mean I
kind of
think
think
I,
that's yourself.
I think he's capable I think he's capable of bringing up points that maybe somebody who doesn't know a lot about politics and is slightly right leaning would bring up. Like, I think he'll bring up those sort of points that are that,
Oh, no,
maybe
sure, sure.
somebody.
I would like looking up some right wing talk points, sure, but does he know how to ask a follow-up question?
I mean, but does he have to for it to benefit Harris? If it's not a hard interview, then I mean that's
No, I mean, no,
fine.
that's what I'm saying. That would benefit her. She would be
Right,
seen as
right.
going on a less than favorable interview and doing well. Um, Now I thought she did pretty
Yeah,
well in the Fox News interview, which was definitely combative, and I think she's got credit from that, including some credit from some Fox News anchors. But I think Rogan, I think it's a good idea. I don't know that there's a ton to lose there, and she can handle
yeah.
herself in an interview, and she's doing well. She's doing a town hall Wednesday with CNN, with Anderson Cooper. So
I
like she's out there doing events. You know who else Zach is out there doing events? Maybe the best possible person to be out there doing events for the Democratic ticket,
well,
Barack Obama.
Oh, Barack Obama, yes. Yeah,
He's
for
done
sure.
multiple events, and every time you watch him, you're just like, oh yeah, he's good at this.
He's really
He's
good at
very good at this.
I mean, I think probably, uh, the best campaigner in American history. Maybe at the very least, top three, for sure.
Yeah, and by far just the best speaker in the Democratic Party. Like by
Yeah.
far. Like they have some great people, but it's still Barack Obama. And then actually, when I say by far, probably second is actually pretty close, and it's Michelle Obama. But then there's a pretty big
Oh yeah.
gap. Um,
Yeah.
Now, we've mentioned the Trump campaign. We've mentioned the Harris campaign. But did you know that there's actually a third candidate, one
Oh.
that doesn't actually have a chance at winning the election, Jill
Oh.
Stein for the Green Party, but she just picked up a massive, massive endorsement. Zach. Jill
Oh,
Stein,
really?
yeah, she's been endorsed by David Duke.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting endorsement considering that she's running on a like supposedly, well, I don't even know if she's trying to say this anymore. Supposedly liberal campaign-ish Green Party, like she's kind of
She
trying to act
she's
she's kind
essentially
of
just mostly this time around running on the pro-Palestine cause. She only
yeah,
comes around once every 4 years. Just to run and just to take votes from the Democrat. Remember, she's liked posts saying that Trump should win. She's
yeah.
friendly with and she's not great. Um,
And David Duke, who we should mention for people who don't know, Grand Dragon of the KKK.
yep. Also not great.
Yeah, no,
Um,
not good.
I saw a person comment because people were saying like how could you possibly vote for somebody that was endorsed by by David Duke and they said, well, if the KKK is anti-genocide, then call me the KKK. Uh,
Yeah,
okay. So first of all, no, just
yeah.
no. Second of
Hmm.
all, the KKK is anti-genocide?
Yeah.
Really?
Weren't they literally formed around the core tenet of genocide?
Yeah,
I mean, that was
of
their entire
of
purpose.
not of like terrorizing people of color. That
Yeah.
was their whole thing.
I saw a great comment on Twitter that I think this is a perfect place to bring up, which is if you're having trouble deciding who to vote for, here's a very simple strategy. It requires very little research.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. You look up who the Nazis are supporting, and
Uh-huh.
you vote for the other candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I
It's a good
guarantee
strategy.
you won't be
Without
wrong.
fail. Without fail,
Yeah,
it's gonna work.
it's gonna work. Now, if both candidates or all the candidates are supported by Nazis, then you have a larger issue. But
Yeah. And then you're looking at like downfall of the Republic type stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But in general, good rule of thumb: don't vote for
Don't
who
vote for Nazis.
the Nazis are.
Yep. We've talked
And
about that. Do want really quickly, Zach, Mark Robinson is now apparently going to sue CNN for the story that they ran about him, suing them for defamation. I don't think the case is going to get that far. I think he's just doing this as a political tactic to keep denying the story. I think he's going to drop the case after the election, but please let this case get to discovery.
yeah,
Like, I really, really want to see everything that they have on.
the
Um,
Jack Smith
no,
has
so no,
a
CNN has on
oh
Mark Robinson.
CNN's
Yeah.
oh Mark Ross.
Um, yeah. And then in the Senate races, we've had a couple of debates, and for Ted Cruz and for Kerry Lake, has not gone well in those debates. Both of them getting crushed by Colin Allred in against Ted Cruz and Ruben Gallego against Kerry Lake. specifically hit hard on abortion. I think that Colin Allred had an all-time debate line against Ted Cruz when he was talking about abortion. He said, so women, when Ted Cruz talks about how he's pro-life, he's not talking about you, about your life. And I felt like that was just so
Yeah.
powerful and such a good line.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's
Meanwhile, in the state
right.
of Georgia, they're hitting record highs in early voting. Um, Hundreds of thousands of people every day going out to vote. Really, really incredible stuff in Georgia. And you know who cast his ballot, Zach?
Cool. Oh yeah.
Jimmy Carter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. It's
I
it's inspiring. It's inspiring to see
Yeah,
somebody so devoted to their country at
yeah.
100 years old.
What's maybe less inspiring is when you actually see photos of him, but don't need
I
to look
mean,
at those.
I mean, or you could look at it as, he's clearly not doing well. Like
Yeah,
very clearly not doing well. And yet he wants to, I'm sure he could, end it if he wanted to. There's lots of ways to do that
sure.
at his age. But
Just hanging
he
on.
he would rather,
He wanted to make it this far.
yeah, he wanted to make it to vote for Kamala Harris, and
Yeah,
he did.
and he did. And maybe, who knows? Who knows? But there's a non-zero chance that he lives to see the inauguration of the first female president in U.S. history. A lot would have to happen, including, that female president to, or that potential female president to win the election,
And for him
but
to survive until
and for
then.
him to survive to January 20th. But could happen. Let's talk a little bit about the hurricane that hit in Florida, Hurricane Milton. It was not quite as devastating as originally predicted, but still devastating. A notable incident damage. The roof was completely blown off of Tropicana Field, the Tampa Bay Rays baseball stadium. Tampa was hit hard. What I want to focus on, though, in regards to the hurricane, is the FEMA responders, due to conspiracy theories on the right being pushed by Trump, by some other Republicans, other Republican influencers online. Um, those responders who are there to provide emergency aid are now getting death threats, Zach.
Yeah, it's awful what conspiracy theories can do to good people. I mean, I think another prime example of this, the CDC and specifically Fauci, a very, very patriotic, good American.
Yeah.
Literally, you know, literally led the response against the deadliest virus
Well,
of the
I
21st
mean,
century.
and more than that, just dedicated his life to the service of the American people.
Yeah. He had served under how many presidents? Lots.
7, 8, maybe? A
Yeah.
lot. A lot of presidents.
Not all were Democrat, by the way.
No. I mean, to be treated like this way, like, it's it's saddening. It's not surprising anymore, but it's a sign of a deeply ill country, I feel like, when we're sending death threats to the people that are trying to help us recover from a hurricane.
I mean, to me, I would compare it to like a political rabies in a way. They're refusing the water that is going to save them,
Yeah,
um, which are the first responders.
we've got to move on with the show. We're going to get to Charlie's stat of the week, except again, it's not Charlie, it is me. So, Zach, here it is. We're going back to politics, going to a political stat.
Okay.
Which state, not counting DC here, because DC has never voted red at the presidential level,
Yeah.
which state has voted for a Democratic president for the most consecutive elections? And when was the last time the state voted for a Republican?
I mean, I'm kind of inclined to say California, but I'm not sure yet.
No.
Yeah, I think it's been since the
I believe California voted for the first Bush in '88, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back too far, the parties flip, and then you have
It's not back that far.
okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to go back super far. I mean, you do, but not in terms of the country. Um,
Just make a guess.
is it? Let's see.
It's the only state that voted for a Democrat in 1984, or that voted for Walter Mondale, the Democratic candidate in 1984.
In what? What was that?
It's the only candidate that voted. Sorry, it's the only state that voted for a Democratic candidate in 1984. Is also this state. It voted for Democrat in '84, Walter Mondale, and then every election since. You
Is
want the answer?
it like can't be like Michigan, is it?
No, you're close. Michigan voted for Trump in 2016, Zach.
Yeah, I know.
But
Well, I didn't. Yeah, but
yeah, but no, it's Minnesota, the home state of then presidential candidate Walter Mondale. Even
oh, I
with
forgot.
that, he was only able to win that state by 0.18%.
Oh my
Um,
God.
he almost lost his home state, and then every state in the union that would have been. But a minute that has not voted since then. It's probably not going to this year, especially with the presidential candidate Tim Walz being the governor of Minnesota. Also, the blue in 1980 and 1976. Last time that Minnesota voted red was for Nixon in 1972. Nixon that year also won all but one state. The ones he lost that year, Massachusetts. All right, let's move on. That was Charlie's stat of the week. Let's move on to sports. Let's start with the Major League Baseball season. We have a World Series matchup. It's the World Series matchup anybody wanted, but we have a World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and New York Yankees. The two, as you would say, premier franchises in Major League Baseball will face each other. And the postseason so far has been very good. The NLCS wasn't great. Every game was a blowout. Not a single change until Game 6. But the American League Championship Series, every game was incredible in this series. The one game that the Guardians won, I really wish this could have gone 7 because this wasn't just incredible. The one game that the Guardians won, they were down to their last out. Lorenzo Noel game tying home run in the bottom of the 9th. David Fry walk off home run bottom of the 10th. Incredible game. Got to add incredible calls by the broadcaster Brian Anderson, and it's been a great postseason so far. And it's a shame that we're getting the World Series matchup we're getting. It's not the one anybody wants. It's going to get ratings. People are going to watch it, but it's not the one anyone wanted. It's Evil Empire versus Evil Empire. You know what else was a really good series? Was the WNBA 5-game series. Final time it's going to be a 5-game series. They're going to move it to a best of 7 starting next year. But this is another series. Every game, unbelievable. Multiple games in the series. Going to overtime. We had game 1. Liberty were down. Oh, sorry, Liberty were up. I believe like 18. I want to say at one point 15. I think in the fourth quarter. The Blues come back, win game 1. Incredible game. Liberty, the one not great game. The series was game 2. Liberty win that somewhat comfortably at 14. Series went to Minnesota. This time it was the Liberty's turn to get a 15-plus point comeback. They win 80-77. Game 4, Lynx tie up the series. Game was close pretty much all game. And in this one, Lynx take the lead late. Sabrina Ionescu nearly hits a series-winning three-pointer. Just misses. We get a game 5 back in New York. This one goes to overtime after Breanna Stewart hit a couple of clutch free throws. Officiating problems in this one? Yeah, maybe. But Liberty end up winning it. Despite Sabrina Ionescu's terrible night, shooting 1 of 19. Liberty win the finals. This is, I mean, it's their first title. This season has shown what women's sports can be. If you're willing to invest in it, the investment was made this year. There was more eyeballs on the league this year than ever before, and it was one of the best seasons in the league's history, culminating in maybe the best WNBA Finals in league history. The league is, I would still wouldn't call them in a great spot. I still don't think they really know how to market themselves necessarily. I don't think the commissioner knows what she's doing entirely, but I think that they're definitely in a better place and a place where they can continue to grow from here. So really good stuff from the W this season. Let's talk some football. Um, let's start with the National Football League. A couple weeks to go over. I think the best way to do this, since we can't go game by game here over the course of 2 weeks, it's pointless, is to go kind of division by division and where we're at here. Zack, let's start in the NFC West, where our Seattle Seahawks started the year with a 3-game winning streak,
Nice.
then had a 3-game losing streak, including to the
Oh,
49ers. And
no.
then they won. They had a really nice win, 20-point win in Atlanta. Atlanta's looked decent recently, so that's a big time win for Seattle. Back on top of the division at 4-3. It's not a great division this year, that's for sure. I've seen some good things out of this team. Geno Smith, for example. I've seen some bad things out of this team. Injuries, the offensive line. But overall, I think the Seahawks are in a good spot, a better spot than I thought they'd be in. I really like what Ryan Grubb has been doing as Mike Macdonald and Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb is the offensive coordinator. I've liked that, but Mike Macdonald as the head coach, I've generally liked what he's done at the helm. What I've enjoyed more is the implosion of the San Francisco 49ers. Super Bowl runners-up last year, 3-4 this year. Yes, they've had their fair share of injuries, like a lot of injuries. Also, they shouldn't be 3-4 at the moment. They should be better than that, and they're not. It feels like a precarious moment for the 49ers. Although I will note, they have a point differential of plus 22, better than anyone else in the division. Cardinals have been pretty bad. Rams have been very bad. I think it's the Seahawks and the 49ers battling this out, and the Seahawks probably have to beat the 49ers on the road in order to win, is my opinion. We'll see. We'll see if the 49ers can get some pieces back. I mentioned the Falcons. I've been generally impressed with that team so far this year. I've been impressed with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback for the Buccaneers, but then with the Falcons, watching the Falcons this week, Bijan Robinson is a dude, man. He needs to be getting more attention. That guy can really run the ball. The Panthers suck. They really suck. And the Saints, I thought the Saints would be better, actually. I know Charlie also thought the Saints would be better. This division's the Falcons and the Buccaneers, and that's kind of how I saw it entering the year. I thought the Saints would at least put up a fight. We all knew that the Panthers were going to be bad. Elsewhere in the NFC, Lions, after a huge win over the Vikings, great game, proved to me that the Vikings are actually for real, but Lions now back on top of that division. The worst team in this division is 4-2, Zack, and that's the Bears.
Oh, no. And that's
We
who?
knew entering the year that this was going to be a good division. This is a great division, though. The Packers, they've looked, for the most part, excellent. The Bears, they're on a heater at the moment. Caleb Williams seems to have found his groove. They've won 3 straight games, admittedly against garbage opponents. They have played nobody. I could make an argument that their 3 wins are their last 3 wins, and really all 4 of their wins this year are against the 4 worst teams in the league. Certainly, I would say 4 of the bottom 6 or 7 teams in the league. So we'll see. They're playing the Commanders this week. That's going to be a really fascinating game because we think the Commanders are for real, right? Leading that NFC East at 5-2. We think they're for real. I don't think just because of who the Bears have played, I don't think we can say that they're for real yet. Right? They haven't played anyone in that tough division. That's going to be a gauntlet to face. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Now in the East, Commanders, again, they've impressed. Eagles they've looked better. Don't know if I'd say they've looked like a great team yet. Saquon Barkley had definitely a revenge game against the Giants, but again, they're the Giants. The Cowboys, on the other hand, we can all celebrate this. They've been an unmitigated disaster. 3 home games this year, 3 games that were over by halftime and not in favor of the Cowboys. To their credit, undefeated on the road. That's going to change this week because they're not beating the 49ers. They never beat the 49ers. They can't beat the 49ers. That loss to Detroit, man. Like that was just ugly. It was brutal. 47-9.
Whoa.
They never had a chance. Like the Lions were just running trick plays on them for the sake of it. Like the Lions hate the Cowboys so much that they just pretty much emptied their entire playbook just to make a mockery of them.
Wow.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I will say I didn't. I did. To the AFC and Chiefs are, tell me if you've heard this before, very good at this whole football thing. They're pretty good at it. Who would have thought? As for who else is around, I've actually been impressed with the turnaround in Denver from Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Chargers are fine. Raiders are not. Just traded Devontae Adams to the Jets. More on that in a minute. AFC South. The Texans, to me, they did just lose a game that they really had no business losing. I mean, it was against a good team in Green Bay, but I felt like, and on the road at Lambeau, but I still should have won that game. To me, they still feel like a team that could absolutely make the Super Bowl out of the AFC this year. Again, all roads go through Kansas City in the AFC, but we'll see. Colts, Anthony Richardson confuses me. Do not understand, because that guy sometimes, he shows flashes of being the best quarterback in the world, but more often than not looks like a guy that should be sitting on the bench. Titans are bad, Jaguars are bad. AFC North, another pretty good division. The Bengals, I do think they're climbing out of the cellar. I have faith in that team as constructed. The problem for them, though, is that the Ravens and the Steelers both got off to hotter starts and are probably at least as good. The Browns, though, Deshaun Watson going down for the year with an injury, to cheers from his home fans. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, no, that shouldn't be happening. Here's the deal. If you want to make an argument that we should never cheer when a player gets injured, make that argument. I think it's a very, very valid argument. Let us not try to claim, though, when making that argument, that Deshaun Watson is some sort of great person, model citizen. He's not. Has, 30 credible sexual assault allegations against him. I'm not saying we should root for players that get injured. I did not root for him to get injured, certainly. But I do that because I have morals, not because of anything about him. If I was to root for someone to get, he would be at the top of that list. In the AFC East, Bills get a new receiver in Amari Cooper. Jets get a new receiver in Devontae Adams. Here's a question. How many more of Aaron Rodgers' friends do you have to bring onto that team to solve the problem? 2 more? 3 more? 5 more? 10 more? How many of his friends are we going to just keep bringing on? Because this team it's just become the Aaron Rodgers clown show. And they're 2-5. Yes, they have 2 wins all year. The Jets do. That's not surprising, but they lost to Denver. I mean, that's really their only bad loss. But their only 2 wins, are against 2 of the worst teams in the National Football League. Teams that everybody agrees suck. In the Titans and in the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers is 2-5. He got his head coach fired. He won't say that he got his head coach fired. The head coach was fired because of him. You know who they didn't fire? His best friend, who is the offensive coordinator. Why is he the offensive coordinator? Why did he get that job in the first place? Because he's Aaron Rodgers' best friend. How much more of this are we going to do? How much more? You want to know his stats this year? They're not good. They're really, really not good. Aaron Rodgers' stats this year. Ready for him? Touchdowns, 10. Interceptions, 7. Passer rating of 82. Not great at all. Completion percentage of 61%. I mean, it's better than last year when he had 0 completion yards because he went down 4 plays into the season with an Achilles injury that he kept saying, oh, yeah, he's coming back from. He did, because of course he didn't, and he's a liar. But this year, it's not good. It has been a bad year for him. Sure, he's in his 40s. Okay, great. Maybe it's time for him to retire then. And maybe, if you're the New York Jets, you should look at him, be like, yeah, this guy in his now age, 40, 41 season, something like that. Maybe he's not the future of our team. Maybe we shouldn't completely wreck everything that we have as a team just to get him in there, just to make him happy. Maybe he's the problem with this New York Jets team. Because the more you try to accommodate him, he's not getting better with age. He's getting older. He's going to get worse. The more you try to accommodate him, the worse your team is going to be off, going to be in the long run, right? He's not getting better. He's not making your team better. He does not have a future with this team. This team is going nowhere with him on their roster. And if they try to go somewhere with him on the roster, they're going to set themselves back for years. And all of this is predictable too, because they're the Jets. They made the bad decisions in the first place, because they always do. This is what they deserve. So, not sorry, New York Jets. College football. It's been better. It's been a lot better. It's been very good. Not Alabama. Alabama's been terrible. Nearly lost to South Carolina, and then of course the loss to Tennessee this weekend. Kalen DeBoer now 2-2 in SEC play, lost to both Tennessee teams. We've had, since we last talked, we've had 2 more top 5 matchups. Oregon, Ohio State, really impressive win for Oregon against Ohio State. They've shown that they are the class of the Big Ten. They're new to the conference. They're beating everybody. They should be 12-0 heading into Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship game. They should be. Who knows, right? As the great Reese Davis always says, if you're not good enough, a loss will find you. Maybe they're not good enough, but to me, they look good enough. BYU, that team has really impressed me. 7-0 start. They just got a close win over Oklahoma State, which Oklahoma State, that's a team that has done the opposite. Nothing impressive about what they've done this year whatsoever. 0-4 in Big 12 play. They had high expectations coming in, meeting absolutely none of them. The other top 5 game, Georgia, Texas. I mean, we probably should have predicted that Kirby Smart was going to get this team back on track, and he did. Big win over the number 1 team in the country for Georgia. They're now going to be right at the top of the rankings. Texas, here's the thing. Sometimes they're bigger than a game when it comes to the Texas Longhorns, and me winning your quarterback room isn't what you should do. Nobody knows what's going on. Tons of rumors circulating about Quinn Ewers now after he was benched for 2 drives in favor of Arch Manning. Not look good because you put him in the dumbest possible scenario that you could imagine. This was very poorly coached by Steve Sarkisian, and I do not know what he was thinking. He's got a lot to sort out before they go to Vanderbilt this week. Yes, Vanderbilt could actually be a threat somehow, and that is pretty amazing. They're now, I believe, 5-2, same record as Alabama. They beat Alabama. They're ranked in the poll. Army and Navy also now both ranked in the AP poll. Now 2 straight weeks they've looked dominant. We'll see, because they haven't played many teams of note. Navy's playing Notre Dame this week. That could be a great game. Indiana 7-0, and we've seen how bad Michigan looks. Could Indiana? They could beat Washington this week. Michigan State the week after, and then Michigan week after. Could this team be 10-0 playing Ohio State? That feels like a real possibility. That would be some pretty incredible stuff. SMU 3-0 to start ACC play, 6-1 overall. That's a team that's really impressed. Illinois is impressed so far. Nebraska still can't get a win over a big time team. Shocker. That was against Indiana. Nebraska was playing. SEC is now cannibalizing itself. Bit of a twist from past years where they were the only conference that didn't really. But no, that conference is just that good. It really does just need more, as they say down there. a fun couple weeks in college football, some great games. USC has imploded. They're a disaster. Oklahoma's imploded. They're a disaster. When Charlie's back, well, I think what we're going to do is I am going to create a list of all of the coaches in college football that I believe should be fired on the spot, like right now. It's a pretty long list. We'll move on from football for the week because we are, I don't know if you've heard this before, we're running light. Formula One, Charlie could give you a more in-depth review. I'll just say Verstappen finishing ahead of Norris is not a good sign for Norris's championships this year. Let's just put it that way. Couple retirements. Tony Bennett, the legendary coach of Virginia, he's retired kind of suddenly. He's had an interesting career over the last few years, especially. 2018, obviously becoming the first one seed to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but then coming back the next year, winning the national championship, a great redemption story, and he handled the whole too. But then since then, his teams have just underperformed, especially in the NCAA tournament. They've just been bad. Last year, it was just an ugly, ugly team to watch. He said, and I think this retirement was due to just how differently college basketball's run these days. So in that way, it's understandable. I think he's not equipped to coach the sport these days with the NIL, the transfer portal, all of that. And what he said, and I actually respect this quite a bit, because he has said, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that these things aren't things that should be happening in the sport. More rights to players is a good thing. And you won't hear many coaches saying this. He's just saying, I'm just not equipped to coach in this current landscape. And I think that's completely fair and valid. Zach, another retirement that you can maybe weigh in on a bit here, Rafael Nadal officially retiring from tennis.
Wow, that's I mean, I have definitely watched a little tennis, and I saw him at the Olympics. Wow, that's a big deal. He's going to retire one of the greatest tennis players of all time, maybe the greatest.
Yep. I mean we can officially declare the big three era over. I mean, Federer's retired, Nadal's retired. It's just Djokovic left, and he seems to be showing signs of aging. The only tournament. So it's an era. It's the end of an era.
Yeah. Kind of sad, but there'll be a new era. So.
Yeah, I mean we're already seeing the new era. The Carlos Alcarazes of the world, the Yannick Sinners of the world, are going out there winning tournaments like crazy. They are the new wave of tennis, and there were questions, of course. Once the big three retire, who's gonna be there to take the baton? Spot. Yeah, and we found those people. So, I mean, we should be thankful for the couple decades that this era has given us, because it's been nothing short of incredible. But
incredibly fun to watch these guys.
Exactly. I think that's going to do it for this episode of C&C Talks. Should subscribe episodes every week wherever you podcasts. I believe we're going to have an election special coming out in just a couple of days after this episode's release, which reminds me again, every vote counts. Go to iwillvote.com to learn more about how to register to vote, how to vote, plan to vote, all of that on that website. Please cast your ballot just 15 days as of this recording until election. And every vote really does matter. Our website, cctalks.com, is everything you need to know. 360-389-2630. Again, that's 360-389-2630. You can follow us on Twitter at CC Talks Podcast. Follow Charlie at CC Talks Charlie. And join our Discord server at cctalks.com/Discord. All this information is in the description below. But for now, for our producer Morris, production designer Zack, who was gracious enough to co-host the show with us this week. Zack, thanks for doing that. And for Charlie, I'm Colin. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.